one of my favorite days on the college football calendar is the day that most of the college football world is silent, and we have one game to watch and not only enjoy the game, but also enjoy what they represent to our country. It is Army, Navy once again. This year it is in Baltimore, Maryland. Navy won last year's matchup back here on Southeast Sports. Plus, Army-Navy to me is always just a really fun game. Yeah. But also, too, it just reminds you of everything that is amazing about this country. And it reminds you of the people that are going to fight for this nation. And you get to watch them play football. And it's high-level football because both teams, year in and year out, have really solid football teams there as well. And we're able to put all that on display there in the Commanders. Is the Commander-in-Chief Cup. Yep.
Yes. I think this is the one football game a year in college football where it's not so much that you're a fan of either team, but you still watch anyways because it's just such a tradition. Week 16 every year. I do find it interesting. You brought up a great point before we came on today. Usually it is the only college football game.
It's the standalone game. Typically the only other game is usually the FCS playoff games.
Yeah.
But they still kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah, but I do believe we have a couple bowl games. The Cricket Celebration Bowl will be played on December 13th.
Right.
And I do believe we actually have another bowl game. I believe Washington is.
It's Washington and Boise State.
Yes, so I don't remember the last time that Army-Navy also was – or it was not the only game on.
Right, right. And it didn't have to share the slate with somebody else.
Right.
And the good thing about the bowl game, though, is it played earlier. So it will have its own platform. It's the 2:00 game on CBS, the Army-Navy game. But in the bowl games are at night. The Celebration Bowl, I'll go back and look up what time that is. But the Boise State-Washington game in the LA Bowl over in SoFi, that is a 7:00 kickoff Central Time. So the Army-Navy game will not be overshadowed by a bowl game. And honestly, I don't think it would be anyways.
No.
You brought up a great point just a minute ago, and I wanted to tack onto it because it's either, like you said, you're kind of a neutral fan. It's one of the polar opposite games. You're a neutral fan. You're kind of rooting for both teams. You want to see good football because you love both of the service academies. Or you're an Army guy or you're a Navy guy or girl, and you literally like, hey, go Army, beat Navy. Like you're all in on one side or the other. I just find it really interesting how that pendulum swings a bit. Like I just remember Bill Belichick, his dad coached at the Navy, so he would get some Navy guys on his practice squad and stuff like that, and he would always, hey, go Navy, beat Army. And there's guys on the opposite side of that too. Mike Krzyzewski comes to mind, and a few others.
Yeah, and my fiance's sister served in the Navy,
awesome,
so and her husband is currently in the Navy right now as an electrician. So I don't want to take bias on one side, but if I had to say, I have some good connections, obviously with people that have served in the Navy, and I gotta watch what I say around them tomorrow.
Yeah,
because,
of course.
You don't want to say like beat Navy or anything,
right?
Then they'll be like, oh, well, I thought I knew you, because I mean it's that serious for them.
Yeah.
And my favorite. When I would watch this game, my favorite is just always the cadets and the midshipmen in the stands, going crazy, because this is just so much fun for them to be able to watch, and this is one of the games that they look forward to every year. Obviously, Navy played Notre Dame earlier this year, and I don't believe they covered that game. I no, because remember we talked about it and we were like, I think Navy's going to cover, but it didn't happen.
Right.
But looking at the Navy side, this guy, Blake Horvath, has been a one-man wrecking crew for them for the last 2 years. As you can see on the bottom there, 1,000+ pass and rush yards. This isn't the first season he's done that. He did that last year as well, and he had 2 big touchdown runs against Army in 2024. I'm going to make a wild statement here.
Okay.
And you can clown me all you want. Blake Horvath is the Lamar Jackson of the G5.
Oh, okay.
Because
I'm not gonna make fun of that.
He doesn't. He doesn't throw it that much.
Right.
But when he does, he's pretty lethal. Other than the 5 interceptions. But I mean, he just does so much on the ground game. Now, I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson. Like, please hear me out. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna be the next Lamar Jackson. But at the level that he plays at, in the Group of 5 level against other service academies, I could actually make the comparison that he kind of sticks out as a Lamar Jackson-esque player.
Yeah, no, and you definitely can, and those numbers kind of show it, just how dangerous he is with his legs. And it's like, hey, he's probably the best athlete on the field at most times, and so hey, continue to give it to him. But you mentioned it, Navy, a really good season overall. I think they were ranked for a large part of the season in the AP poll. Finished up with 2 losses with North Texas and to Notre Dame, obviously. And so it should be a really fun and interesting Army-Navy game there once again. And then it'll tee up Navy's game against Cincinnati coming up in the postseason.
Yeah, and I honestly, for a minute, we were talking about Navy potentially being in the college football playoff.
Yes.
Because they were atop the American.
Yep.
But, when Tulane got their second loss, it kind of shocked some people.
Right.
And it was like, all right, Tulane's out. And then it's Memphis's turn. And then Memphis lost, and it's like, okay, who do we talk about now?
Right.
The 2 teams that didn't get talked about were Navy and then also North Texas. But we saw how it panned out. North Texas, unfortunately, for my sake, I was rooting for them. I was rooting for the Mean Green, but the Green Wave in the battle of the mascots and for the American ended up winning. But Navy is definitely no slouch, and I would expect this one to be another great game. I know Army isn't really having the best of years, but this is kind of a retooling year. I believe they went 12-2 last year.
Right, they went 12-2 a year ago, and then they're 6-5 as they enter this game. They're 4-4 in the American. Meanwhile, Navy is 9-2 on the season. Only lost that one game in the regular season in conference play. The game opened at 4.5. Of course, that was Navy a 4.5-point favorite. That is, and then it quickly has jumped up to 7. So Navy is now a touchdown favorite over Army. 38.5 is the over/under in that game. And I'm trying to find an AccuWeather. I always trying to find the weather, because it always feels like this is the one game I feel like it's always cold.
Yeah.
Like super cold.
I'll tell you this. My fiance is from Southern Maryland, and I've been there a few times at this point in the year, and it's not really pleasant outside. It's either super windy, raining, not usually snow at this time of year.
Right.
It doesn't actually snow down there too much, but it's usually just dreary rain. It's probably going to be in the 30s, just nastiness. But I mean, that's exactly what college football is all about. We talked last week about snow games and stuff like that. There might be a snow game in Norman potentially next weekend. Who knows about that? But this is going to be one of those good old-fashioned, like Julian said earlier about Iowa and how they want to turn this into a rock fight.
Right.
That's exactly what Navy and Army want to do.
That's exactly right. We heard from Brian Newberry on the physicality of this game and what you have to do in practice.
You're playing stall, you're chasing things, making sure you're as prepared as you possibly can be, and you've got 2 weeks to get ready, which is great. But you got to be careful with that because you can get a little carried away in what you're doing. So the ideal is for our kids to go play with as much confidence as they can on Saturday, so they can go play fast, they can go play fearless, and that they feel good about what they're doing. And so there's a fine line in there of wanting to carry enough into the game. Both teams are going to have some wrinkles, on both sides of the football, but what it comes down to is our ability to execute those things at a really, really high level.
All right, so that game is set for tomorrow at 2:00 Central Time. Any early leans? I know you said you have to watch it. You have to watch your words around people. I always like to bet the over/under in this one, and I always bet the over, and it always goes under. I feel like every single year it goes under.
So bet the under, because I want to see a good high-scoring game.
Yeah.
But I know it's probably going to be the under this year.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta say, I think Navy wins this game because I think Blake Horvath, just like last year, takes over. It's just hard to imagine. I believe this is going to be his final Army-Navy game, unless he has another year of eligibility, but I do believe that he is a senior. I would expect him to have a big game. I look forward to the jerseys that they wear.
Every year.
Every year. They're just amazing.
Yeah. And whether it's the midshipmen or the Black Knights, they always do something really, really cool with it. And of course, These are the people that will be, as a part of our fighting corps, helping to defend the freedoms that we all love and enjoy all the time. So it is multi-pronged how much this game means to Americans overall, and especially at these two service academies. Of course, the big story of this week has been the situation going on at Michigan. And this is also kind of multi-pronged there as well, because you have a football story, obviously, in one of the biggest programs and one of the most historic programs in the history of the sport. And now they need a new coach.
Right.
And at the same time, too, this unbelievable, ridiculous tragedy that seems to get dirtier and messier and stickier by the detail that comes out. The official charges have been released, and Sharon Moore is facing a felony charge and a couple of misdemeanor charges, including stalking. And so that issue is just, it'll play its way out in court. He is looking at some jail time and everything else.
6 years, I think, is what I heard. He could potentially face. But as you mentioned, Michigan is going to need a new head coach now, and they've got to move forward. And I think I said this yesterday, you got to get away from guys that'll, like, you just don't want to go to people that have been under regimes that have had scandals. And I mean, you look at the last two regimes, and Sharon Moore and Jim Harbaugh both have had scandals. And it's just, Michigan's got to clean its public image right now. But a name that I keep hearing for some reason is actually Jeff Monken, the head coach over there at Army. And the more and more I think about it, at first I was like, oh man, like there's just no way Michigan's going to go for him. Like that just doesn't really make sense. But the more and more I do think about it, the Army style of football is a lot like what Michigan's style of football was when they won the national championship with Blake Corum. Just absolute ground and pound, just run the football. And that's exactly what that Army style, you win in the trenches, literally. And
being more
just,
physical.
Yes, just be more physical. I mean, the record isn't great, but again, he's working with a service academy here. We have to keep that in mind. So you can kind of throw the record away, except for last year and what he was able to do. 12-2. He didn't beat Navy, so I mean that's the one thing you can hold against him in that regard. But it is an interesting name being thrown around for such a prestigious head coaching position.
And anytime I hear the name Monken, the very first thing, and this happened during the break, the very first thing I thought of was the offensive coordinator at Georgia, because you don't hear a lot of Monkens that often. That's not a common last name. I come from Mathangani, so I know about uncommon last names. But so I looked it up, and I was like, hey, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator at Georgia. They're cousins, actually, first cousins. So Todd Monken and Jeff Monken. So that's your fact of the day. If you didn't know that, they're in the same profession.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Jeff Monken were to go
to
Michigan. Hey, hey, cuzzo, you're like, come on with me up to Ann Arbor. We're gonna rejuvenate this program, and we're gonna beat Ohio State.
That's exactly right. They're in talking physicality. That's the way they want to do it. And Monken obviously getting ready for this big matchup against their rival, and then the bowl game there after that. And he talks a little bit about that game prep before the Army-Navy game coming up tomorrow.
Just the emphasis that's placed on this game throughout the year. And certainly from a mental and emotional standpoint, that this game is thought about far more than just the days leading up to it, whatever prep time that is. This year, being 2 weeks, and last year being a week to prepare for the game. We've often had multiple weeks to get ready for the game, and there's certainly a huge emphasis during that time. It's all about trying to beat Navy. But throughout the year, whether it's in spring practice or our preseason camp, we dedicate time to these games. And our academy opponents are different. Defending them is different because they know us so well. Trying to have a game plan prepared on offense is different, and so it's an effort throughout the year.
So this is a interesting matchup there, Army versus Navy. We talked overall. I think I'm with you. I think Navy does win this football game, and it will be interesting for Monken. if he does get that call from Michigan. And it's like you said, I think that Michigan needs to clear house, and this could be a good way to get it done.
We'll see. I mean, Michigan's got to act fast because that transfer portal is just around the corner. I would expect the Wolverines to have a head coach by the time the college football playoff kicks off.